There comes a moment in a man's life when he realizes that attraction is not about chasing, not about tricks, and not about pretending to be someone he is not. It is about presence, energy, and the quiet confidence that speaks before words ever do. And the truth most men never hear is this: the way you make a woman feel in your presence is what she remembers long after you're gone. I want you to imagine something for a second. Think back to a time when you walked into a room and felt invisible. No one noticed you, no one felt your energy, and deep down, you knew it wasn't because you weren't worthy. It was because you hadn't yet learned how to express that quiet power within you. Most men try too hard. They talk too much, they impress too much, they give too much, and in doing so, they lose the one thing that truly attracts a younger woman's attention: mystery. There is something deeply magnetic about a man who doesn't feel the need to prove himself. A man who can sit in silence and still command the room. A man who doesn't rush to fill every gap in conversation but allows space, because in that space, curiosity is born. And curiosity, that is where attraction begins. You see, younger women are not just drawn to looks or money or status the way society tells you. They are drawn to emotional experience, to how a man makes them feel when he speaks, when he listens, when he simply exists. Most men think flirting is about clever lines. It's not. It's about emotional tension, the push and pull, the warmth and the distance, the feeling that something is unfolding slowly. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is learning to slow down. When you speak, speak like your words matter. When you look at her, hold that eye contact just a second longer than feels comfortable, not in a forced way, but in a grounded, calm way. That small pause, it says more than 1,000 rehearsed sentences ever could. It tells her that you are not nervous, that you are not seeking approval, that you are fully present, and presence that is rare. Most people today are distracted, always looking at their phones, always thinking about the next thing. But when you give a woman your full attention, when you listen to her as if her words actually matter, you separate yourself instantly from the crowd. She feels seen, and when a woman feels seen, she begins to open in ways she doesn't even fully understand. But let me be honest with you, this is where most men make a mistake. They think attention means chasing. It does not. There is a difference between giving attention and giving yourself away. The man who is always available, always agreeing, always trying to please, slowly becomes invisible. Not because he lacks value, but because he stops being a challenge. Attraction lives in balance. You give a little, and then you pull back. You show interest, and then you return to your own world. You laugh with her, and then you allow silence to exist without panic. This rhythm creates something powerful. It creates intrigue. She starts wondering about you, thinking about you, feeling drawn to understand you more, and that is the moment where everything begins to shift. Let me tell you a small story. There was a man I once knew. He wasn't the richest, he wasn't the most handsome, and he certainly wasn't the loudest in the room. But every time he spoke, people listened, not because he demanded attention, but because he never chased it. He would smile, pause, and then say something simple yet meaningful. And women, especially younger women, found themselves drawn to him without understanding why. One evening, I asked him his secret. He smiled and said something I will never forget. He said, "I don't try to make them like me. I focus on enjoying the moment. If they feel it too, they stay." That is the mind that most men are missing. When you stop trying to impress and start focusing on connection, everything changes. Your words become more natural, your energy becomes more relaxed, and that tension, that quiet, magnetic tension, begins to build on its own. Another powerful tactic, and listen carefully to this, is learning the art of playful challenge, not arrogance. Not disrespect, but gentle teasing that shows confidence. When you lightly challenge her in a playful way, you're communicating something deeper. You're saying, "I'm not intimidated. I see you, and I'm comfortable being myself around you. For example, when she says something predictable, instead of agreeing immediately, you smile slightly and say, I don't know, I feel like you say that to everyone. Not in a harsh tone, but in a warm, teasing way. That small shift creates a spark. It breaks the pattern she's used to. And suddenly, the interaction becomes exciting because here's the truth: predictability kills attraction, but emotional variation that keeps it alive. And as you begin to understand this, something inside you will start to change. You will stop chasing reactions and start creating experiences. You will stop worrying about what to say and start focusing on how you make her feel. And when you reach that point, you won't need to try so hard anymore. Because the man who understands energy, presence, and emotional rhythm becomes unforgettable without even trying. There's a moment in every interaction, a quiet turning point where attraction either grows or slowly fades away, and most men never even realize when it happens. They keep talking, keep explaining, keep trying, not knowing that the more they push, the more they lose the very tension that was beginning to build. What you must understand is this: attraction is not built through effort alone. It is built through awareness, through feeling the moment instead of forcing it. When you are fully present, you begin to notice the subtle shifts, the way her eyes linger a little longer, the way her tone softens, the way she leans in without realizing it. These are not random signals, these are invitations, but only a man who is calm and centered can see them. And this is where emotional control becomes your greatest strength. Most men react too quickly. The moment they sense interest, they rush in. They compliment too much, they reveal too much, they try to lock things down too fast, and in doing so, they break the natural flow. Think of attraction like a slow, burning fire. If you throw everything on it at once, it burns out just as quickly. But if you feed it gradually, patiently, it grows stronger with time. So instead of reacting, you respond. When she shows interest, you don't jump to match it immediately. You acknowledge it subtly, maybe with a slight smile. Maybe by holding eye contact just a second longer. Maybe by shifting the conversation in a way that keeps her engaged without giving everything away. This restraint, this control creates depth, and depth is what keeps her thinking about you long after the conversation ends. There is also something else. Most men overlook the power of emotional contrast. If you are always serious, she gets bored. If you are always joking, she doesn't take you seriously. But when you move between both, when you can be light and playful one moment, and calm and grounded the next, you create an emotional experience she cannot predict. An unpredictability, when done with confidence, is incredibly attractive. Imagine this: you're talking, laughing, enjoying the moment, and then suddenly you slow down. Your tone softens, you look at her, not with intensity, but with calm curiosity. And you say something real, something honest, something that shows depth. That shift, that moment of sincerity, it hits differently. Because she didn't expect it, and now she sees that there is more to you than just surface level charm. That's how connection deepens. But let me take you deeper into something even more powerful: the way you carry yourself when you're not speaking. Because silence, if you learn to use, it becomes one of your strongest tools. Most men are uncomfortable with silence. They rush to fill it because they fear losing control of the interaction. But the man who is comfortable in silence, the man who can pause, breathe, and simply exist in that moment, he creates a different kind of energy. It's calm, it's grounded, it's attractive in a way that words cannot explain. When you pause before responding, when you take a moment instead of reacting instantly, you show that you are not seeking approval. You are choosing your words, and that choice, it carries weight. She begins to feel it, and here's something very few men truly understand: attraction is not about being liked by everyone. It's about being remembered by the right one. When you stop trying to fit into what you think she wants and start expressing who you truly are, you become real. And real is rare. There is nothing more powerful than authenticity combined with control. You don't need to dominate the conversation. You don't need to prove your worth. Your presence does that for you. The way you listen, the way you respond, the way you hold your space without shrinking or overextending. All of it speaks louder than anything you could say. And as this energy builds, something interesting begins to happen. She starts investing more. She asks more questions. She tries to understand you. She leans into the mystery you've created, not because you tried to impress her, but because you gave her something to feel. That is the shift from chasing to attracting. But there is one more layer to this, something deeper than tactics, deeper than words, deeper than behavior. And that is your inner world. If inside you feel desperate, it will show. If inside you feel insecure, it will leak through your tone, your body language, your timing. You cannot fake this. Real attraction begins within. It begins when you are comfortable being alone, when you are fulfilled without needing validation, when you genuinely enjoy your own company. Because the man who enjoys his life becomes the life others want to be part of. So instead of asking, "How do I make her like me?" ask yourself, "Am I living a life that naturally attracts?" That question, if you answer it honestly, will change everything. Because in the end of flirting is not something you do. It is something you become. It is the expression of a man who knows his value, who moves with intention, who speaks with calm confidence, and who understands that attraction is not about control, but connection. And when you embody that you don't need to chase anyone, they come closer on their own. And now we arrive at a place most men never reach. Not because it is complicated, but because it requires something deeper than tactics. It requires awareness of yourself in the moment when things begin to matter. Because there comes a point in every interaction where the energy shifts from light curiosity into something more intense. A moment where her laughter slows, her eyes hold yours a little longer, and there's a quiet question in the air that neither of you has spoken yet. This is where most men lose everything. They feel that shift, and instead of staying grounded, they become overwhelmed by it. They rush to define it, to control it, to secure it. They start thinking too much, talking too much, doing too much. And just like that, the natural tension disappears, but the man who understands does something different. He leans into the moment without trying to own it. He allows that silence to exist. He lets that eye contact breathe. He doesn't interrupt the energy with nervous words or unnecessary actions. He trusts the moment, and more importantly, he trusts himself within it. And that trust, it is felt, because when a woman senses that you are not afraid of the moment, she begins to relax into it too. She doesn't feel pressure, she doesn't feel rushed, she feels safe and excited at the same time, and that combination is incredibly rare. Let me share something that will change how you see attraction forever. Attraction is not about making someone feel comfortable all the time. And it's not about making them feel overwhelmed either. It's about creating a balance between comfort and tension, between safety and excitement. Too much comfort and you become predictable, too much tension and you become exhausting. But when you can move between both, when you can make her laugh and then suddenly bring a moment of calm, when you can tease her lightly and then show genuine interest, you create an emotional rhythm that keeps her engaged without effort. And this is where your emotional intelligence becomes your greatest advantage. You start to notice when she pulls back slightly, and instead of chasing, you give space. You notice when she leans in, and instead of freezing, you meet her there with calm confidence. You adjust not out of fear, but out of awareness. That's what makes the difference, because most men operate on scripts. They repeat lines, patterns, behaviors hoping for the same result. But attraction is not a script. It's a dance, and every dance requires you to feel the movement, not force it. Now let's go deeper into something even more powerful, the way you express desire. This is where things become real. Many men either hide their interest completely or they express it too aggressively. But the man who truly understands attraction finds the middle ground. He shows interest without losing control. He expresses desire without losing respect. When you look at her, let it be honest, not exaggerated. Not forced, just real. When you compliment her, let it be specific and grounded, not something you say to everyone, but something you genuinely notice. Maybe it's the way she thinks, the way she expresses herself, the way her energy feels in that moment. Because surface level compliments are forgettable, but when you see something deeper and you say it calmly, it stays with her. And here's the key: you don't repeat it. You don't overdo it. You let it land, and then you move on. That restraint, it gives your words weight. Another thing you must understand is the power of walking away. Not as a game, not as manipulation, but as a reflection of your life. The man who has purpose, who has direction, who has things he values outside of any one interaction, does not cling. He does not linger longer than necessary. He knows when to leave, not because he's losing interest, but because he respects his own time and energy. And that creates impact. When you leave at the right moment, when the energy is still good, when the conversation still has life in it, you create something unfinished. And what is unfinished stays in the mind. She thinks about it, she replays it, she wonders what comes next. That's how attraction continues even in your absence. But let me be very clear with you, none of this works if it comes from a place of insecurity. If you are pretending, if you are acting, if you are trying to be someone you are not, it will eventually break. Because real connection can only be built on truth. So instead of focusing only on what to say or how to act, focus on who you are becoming. Build a life that excites you. Develop habits that strengthen you. Learn to be comfortable in your own silence, your own presence, your own company. Because when you are whole on your own, you don't seek validation, you share your energy. And that is what makes you different. That is what makes you magnetic. And as you begin to embody this, something inside you will shift. You will stop fearing rejection and start valuing alignment. You will stop trying to win everyone over and start connecting with those who truly feel your energy. And when that happens, attraction becomes effortless, not because you learned tricks, but because you became the kind of man people are naturally drawn to. And that is where the real power begins. And now this is where everything comes together, because at the end of it all, it was never about tactics. It was never about trying to drive someone crazy or control how they feel. Those ideas, they come from a place of lack. From a place where a man believes he must do more to be enough. But the truth is quieter than that and far more powerful. Attraction, real attraction, is the natural response to a man who is grounded in himself. When you walk into a space without needing attention, people notice. When you speak without needing approval, people listen. When you give your presence without losing yourself, people feel it. And a younger woman, especially one who has seen men try too hard, impress too much, chase too fast, she recognizes the difference instantly. You become a breath of fresh air, not because you are louder, but because you are calmer, not because you are trying harder, but because you are at ease. Not because you are perfect, but because you are real, and that realness, it creates something rare. Let me take you into one final moment. Imagine you're sitting across from her. The conversation has flowed naturally. There have been laughs, pauses, moments of connection that didn't need explanation. And now there's a quiet stillness between you. This is the moment most men fear. They think they need to say something brilliant, something impressive, something that seals the deal. But the man who understands does something else. He simply holds the moment. He looks at her not intensely, not nervously, but with calm certainty. There's no rush in him, no need to prove anything, and in that stillness she feels it. She feels the confidence. She feels the presence. She feels the authenticity. and something inside her responds naturally because you didn't force it. You allowed it, and that is the difference between attraction that fades and attraction that lingers. You see, people don't remember every word you say. They don't remember every joke, every line, every detail. But they remember how they felt in your presence. Did they feel seen? Did they feel intrigued? Did they feel safe and excited at the same time? If the answer is yes, then you've already done more than most. So stop chasing perfection. Stop trying to become some version of a man you think others want. Instead, refine what is already within you, your calm, your focus, your direction, your ability to be present without losing yourself. Because when a man learns to master his energy, everything else follows. Conversations become effortless. Connections become deeper, attraction becomes natural, and the need to win anyone disappears. What remains is something far more powerful. Choice. You begin to choose who aligns with you instead of trying to be chosen. You begin to move through life with quiet confidence, knowing that the right people will feel it without you needing to convince them. And when a woman truly feels that, she doesn't just notice you, she remembers you. Not as the man who tried too hard, but as the man who didn't have to try at all. There is something I want to leave you with, something deeper than all the words you've heard so far. Because when the noise fades, when the techniques, the moments, the conversations all pass, what truly remains is who you are when no one is watching. That is where your power lies. Not in how many lines you know, not in how many reactions you can get, but in the quiet certainty you carry within yourself. The kind of certainty that doesn't need validation, doesn't need applause, doesn't need to be proven. Because the man who knows his worth moves differently. He doesn't rush into connections out of loneliness. He doesn't chase attention out of insecurity. He doesn't try to impress out of fear of being overlooked. He simply shows up fully, and in that fullness there is a calm strength that cannot be faked. So as you walk away from this, don't just think about what you can do differently. Think about who you are becoming. Think about the habits you build when no one is there to see. Think about the discipline, the focus, the life you are creating beyond any one interaction. Because when your life has purpose, your presence has weight. And when your presence has weight, people feel it before you even speak, including her. The truth is, attraction is not something you chase. It is something that grows in the space between two people who are both real, both present, both grounded in themselves. And when you bring that energy into the world, you don't need to drive anyone crazy. You simply become unforgettable. So walk with intention, speak with calm confidence, hold your space without fear, and trust that the right connections, the ones that truly matter, will meet you there. Because in the end, it was never about changing who you are. It was about finally becoming him.